Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We're really excited about today's Instagram Live. As many of you know, that we work with people to help them limit their toxic chemical exposure, specifically by reducing their use of plastics. 300 million tons of plastic is produced each year worldwide, and coming to contact with plastic is like unavoidable. So we must do our part to limit how much is produced each year through the three R's. So reduce, reuse, and recycle. So plastic isn't the only thing that end up being our landfills. So many recyclable products are thrown out each year, and which has caused many communities to increase their recycling initiatives. So not everything we think can be belongs to the recycling bin belongs there. And that's why we're really, really glad today to be joined by Emma Dendler, the Simple Environmentalist. Emma is a climate activist and advocate for zero waste living. So we're going to discuss how to properly recycle so that we can have a cleaner planet. So I... Hello.
Hi. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, yes. Looks like you're
Okay,
in your
awesome.
car.
I am, yeah.
So thank you so much for making the time.
Yeah, no problem.
No, this is awesome. So like tell us a little bit about your background, like how you became a climate activist.
Yeah, so I grew up in the rural US where I didn't really see impacts like air pollution, rising ocean levels, ocean plastic, and that stuff. So it wasn't until I moved to a bigger city where I first started to see the impact that we had on the environment. And so I moved to San Angelo, which is in West Texas, and they had zero recycling at all. And I was just completely shocked. Like, we're producing all of this useful materials, especially things like soda can. Metal is so valuable, and it was going straight to the landfill. Um, and then I moved to Okinawa, Japan, which is a small island off of like southeast Japan, and it's in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. So that's when my eyes are really open to litter and ocean garbage. So not only should we be recycling, but we should also be reducing what we consume.
That is crazy. I know Okinawa is also one of the blue zones
It
where
is,
people live
yeah.
the longest. That is
Yeah.
so interesting. So in your words, what is a climate activist?
It's anybody who cares about the environment. I think a lot of people think like you have to have a degree in environmental science or you have to work in this field, but it's just really anybody who cares about the future of our planet.
Which should be everyone.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you also thrive for like a zero waste lifestyle. So what does that mean to you?
So I think zero waste can get it's kind of the wrong idea. People think that you use literally zero single-use products, when in reality it's
Mhm.
reducing what you send to the landfill. Now, I still produce trash. I'm not actually zero waste. Um, but even things like composting and recycling are still considered zero waste. So for me, it's reducing what I send to the landfill
Mhm.
within reason. Obviously, if I need to consume something in plastic like medical
Mhm.
food, I will. I'm trying not to be so hard on myself for that stuff.
Yeah, that's exactly the same thing we also tell our users, like when people trying to detox, and it's like you can't do everything all at once. You kind of got to
Right.
balance it out and not to get too stressed out about it. You do what you
Hmm.
can. Yeah. So like curbs, now we're gonna come back to recycling because that's like today's topic. So curbside recycling is pretty convenient to cut out your waste, but not all things that we think can be recycled belong to curbside recycling. So why does curbside recycling have like, limitations of what you can or cannot recycle?
I would say the two big things are that recycling is a business, and depending on your city size, depends on what facilities are available. An example of that, I have an aunt who lives in Wyoming, very rural. So they can't do glass recycling because it would cost too much to ship it to another
Mhm.
state to be recycled properly. Um, and that's a big reason why a lot of plastics are not recycled is because recycling is a business and
Mhm.
recycling plastic is not valuable because when you melt down plastic, you're only left with a little bit of plastic left. And looking at it as an industry, it's a lot cheaper to just extract new oil and make a new product, which is really unfortunate.
Mhm.
But those are the big reasons why recycling is so complicated.
Yeah, so then like basically like each city, like the recycling program will vary by like town, state, and state to state, town to town, city to city. So you kind of have to check your city guidelines before you know like what can be really recycled or cannot be recycled.
Exactly.
Got it. Got it. So, okay, now let's like before getting into what we cannot recycle, let's talk about what we can actually like recycle. What can we put in the curbside bin?
So generally speaking, again, like you already said, every city, state, country is different. So check your local area first. But generally speaking, thicker plastics like plastics number 1 and 2. Oh, here I have a plastic water bottle. So the plastic symbol will be on the bottom. Maybe it's not on this one. I found that as litter. Anyway. And then metal, glass, paper, and cardboard are the big ones that are accepted. And the biggest rule to always remember, no matter what's accepted in your area, is to remember that it's clean and dry. So when you use a jar of tomato sauce, make sure that you clean it out before putting it in your bin.
Yeah, that's really a good tip because I think that sometimes people just forget to like rinse and clean it out. Because I know at the recycling facility, like if it's not clean, they just put it in a landfill pile rather than the kind of like recycling pile. So make sure people need to make sure it's actually clean.
Yeah.
So what favorite? Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
My favorite lazy hack is to just put stuff in the dishwasher.
Yeah. Yep. And then that you don't have to actually wash it. Sometimes it can be kind of like greasy because I know like my jar of peanut butter, that's like really hard to clean, but I guess putting in the dishwasher would be a lot easier. So are there instances where things we can recycle curbside that are no longer deemed recyclable? I guess that also depends on city to city, right?
Yeah. I know from a lot of people that I've heard, especially during COVID, when like a lot of recycling centers were getting shut down, some people, cities quit recycling in general, and then sometimes they quit accepting certain materials. I think glass is a really popular one that was kind of cut from recycling programs during COVID. But nothing like broadly speaking is no longer deemed recyclable. It just depends on manning.
Yeah, that makes sense. I know so I live in Berkeley. I know we have a recycling center here, and then they always like label it because like you can't put your electronics or anything like in your curbside recycling bin, but you can actually take it to the recycling center and get those recycled there.
Right.
Yeah. And so you mentioned like about plastic. So do you always just check the bottom of the plastic, check the number before you recycle them?
Yes. So, and it does depend where it is on the product, like a plastic bag might be on the front and so forth. But yeah, generally speaking, plastics number 1 and 2 are the most commonly recycled. The other plastics are the thin plastics like grocery bags, plastic utensils, styrofoam, that sort of stuff.
So for the stuff that you cannot put in the curbside recycling bin, people should be looking out for their local recycling services, right? So like, what's your best strategy of finding that local recycling services?
Since for me, I live in Las Vegas, it's a really big city, so it's pretty easy to just type in like electronic recycling Las Vegas. So if you live in a smaller town, it might be more beneficial if you type in like the biggest city you live closest to or even your county.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you have an amazing YouTube channel that called the Simple Environmentalist. So tell us like the type of content you create and then like, what we can expect to see on your channel.
Yeah, so I started my YouTube channel when I first started researching about environmental issues myself and realized, wait, I don't think anybody knows about this stuff, or at least not nearly as many people as should know about this. So that's why I started social media, and quickly my whole platform turned into focusing on making low waste and eco-friendly living free, easy, fun, and accessible, because I was looking at all these other big zero wasters and how they only produce a mason jar of trash in their lifetime, or they buy all these swaps and they give up their car. And I'm like, I can't really do any of that. I didn't even have access to a bulk store. I'm like, how can I live zero waste if I don't have a bulk store and I don't have an EV, So I wanted to show people that you don't have to change your whole life. You don't have to spend a bunch of money. You can start living low waste right now by just shutting off the light, recycling properly, and other simple stuff.
I love it. I love it. And you also recommend zero waste products that people can shop by clicking your LinkedIn bio. So how do you vet a brand? How do you go about it? How do you recommend to people?
Yeah, so I always try to use brands that have a third-party certification. That's definitely
Mm,
not like an end all be all for me because it is expensive to get that stuff, and I don't hold small businesses to that standard, but bigger businesses,
hmm
if they have something like B Corp or Rainforest Alliance certified or certified organics, that sort of stuff, really prove that they're not just making up claims, that they were actually certified. Um, and then also just transparency. I don't
hmm
expect every brand to be perfect, but if they're honest and they have maybe some eco goals set for themselves that are easily available for me to read on their website, that's really important for me too.
That makes a lot of sense. I know that transparency is so important. So like, and then certifications are expensive. So if brands are putting energy into these things, at least they're trying.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also know, like, at least for us, when we're recommending products to people, we know that when there's like, say, BPA free, it's like there's no compliance, there's no policy or body to actually like check on that. It's
Mm-hmm.
completely up to manufacturers that, BPA free, just they can just label it, but that doesn't mean like it's other like alternative, like BP alternative free. So,
Exactly.
so yeah, definitely check out like the company's missions and all these other things.
Mm-hmm.
This is really cool. So what is like a one thing we can do tomorrow to help cut out our carbon footprint?
Oh, there is so much we can do. I guess some of the biggest things we can do as individuals, I think composting is great, especially if you have access to it, like your city has a composting drop off or something, and learn to recycle properly, as we've already been talking about, because I think, especially in the US, so many people are recycling incorrectly and what is called wish cycling, just putting stuff in the recycling bin because they feel guilty for putting it in the trash can, when in reality, that's just going to cause more trash. Um, I think those are my two biggest ones, as well as um, other stuff like trying to drive less, carpool, and then, of course, consume less animal products because the animal industry is very pollutive.
Yeah, we know, I think beef is like the largest polluter, right?
Yeah, by a lot.
So trying to eat as much plant-based food as possible.
Hmm.
Turn off your light and then recycle properly. Make sure you wash everything, like make sure it's
Yes.
clean before recycling. So this is awesome. So thank you so much for joining us for a
Thanks
quick
for
live.
having me.
We're gonna have to invite you back to talk about more strategies in the
Yes,
future.
I have so much to talk about.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you everyone for joining. So be sure to follow Emma at the Simple Environmentalist and check out the YouTube channel because it's a lot of great content. So thank you.
Thank you. Bye,
Okay,
everyone.
bye.